Hey guys, this is E-House. You might notice there's no intro yet. We're working on getting our logo set up and getting all that ready before we can get an intro, but enjoy the first video from Gun Gamers. I guess this is your intro. It's about holsters.
Hello everybody, I'm E-House.
And I'm Redbeard.
And what are we talking about today?
This week, we're going to talk about holsters.
Yes.
Holsters for sidearms.
Yep. So, obviously...
The kind of holsters, really, that we're ever going to talk about. So I don't know why I just said that. Derp, derp.
I mean, you can get primary holsters if you count like an MP7 or something like that as a primary.
Or
if you want to get real
scabbard.
technical. Yeah, shotgun scabbard, something like that. But no, we're talking about holsters for your airsoft pistol. Now, to start off, I love categories, so we're going to have two main categories. Soft holsters and hard holsters. What's the difference there?
Well, soft holsters are just that. They are made of a fabric-type material, so they're actually soft. As like the one that Eric is holding right now.
So soft.
It's not like cute, cuddly kitten soft, but it's a soft.
They can be.
It's flexible, it's flimsy.
They're usually made of
like,
nylon or leather,
with
or
like molly
sometimes
straps.
Canvas if you get like an old school military surplus one.
Yeah, and hard is actually made out of like a polymer type or a
Polymer,
Kydex.
Kydex, plastic,
It's
ABS,
rigid,
whatever
yeah.
you want to call it.
Yeah.
Point is, it's not soft. It's hard.
That's why soft holsters.
Now,
and hard holsters.
For everyone's benefit, let's grab the guns here, and they are clear. You know, we do check them before videos.
Actually, there's no mags in any of these, so
Yeah, there's no mags.
there are
the
two
chambers.
mags here, but that's for later in this episode.
So anyways, that's your basic options. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of each one to your mind?
To my mind, the advantage of a hard holster is there's a little more protection, a little more rigidity to the holster itself.
Yes.
So, in my findings, let's just go right at it. Leg holsters, there's like that fabric leg holster that you
Drop
can
legs.
get.
You see a lot of the soft drop leg types.
The retention on those, I found I kept missing, or would have guns just go disappearing, and I wouldn't know about it. I mean, I still had that issue with a hard holster, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yes.
But, for the most part, the retention, in my experience, is overall better with hard, and I just prefer hard.
Yeah. Now with with soft holsters, the biggest disadvantage I saw with them was actually the mag release would get actuated.
Yep.
But soft holsters do have an advantage. One major advantage, actually. Well, actually, I'd say they have two. They're a very cheap way to get a holster for multiple handguns and not have to search out a holster for your specific handgun. So, for example, here, I have this soft holster which holds this Elite Force 1911 TAC with a Streamlight TLR1 and a suppressor, well, mock suppressor. Those usually don't ride on here, but they're perfect for the sake of demonstration. So that slides right in, and it holds it. I mean, it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't hold it especially well. It isn't very secure, and it doesn't protect the gun very well. Like, if you land on this, you're still liable to hurt the gun a lot more than you're going to hurt the holster because of the way the impact is going to be transferred. But it holds the gun, and this one came with, when it was new, a back cross strap that would go over the beaver tail or the hammer. This has long since been lost. This isn't my holster. This is actually one of Kyle's old holsters that has been literally in his pile of garbage stuff for years. None of us run soft holsters anymore, but this is, for the sake of example, one big advantage is the compatibility. So I can take this 1911 TAC with a flashlight and a suppressor. I can take that out. I can get this FNX from Cybergun, slide that right in there, which is actually not a horrible fit. So if you give a really big handgun like this FNX, I mean, it's a pretty sizable handgun.
Though it might
That'll
be a
fit
little
in.
too big for the smaller gun size, so like the
And then you get,
and
it's not mince words. It's an M&P. We just doesn't want to get sued.
I don't want to get sued.
Whatever.
I'm being technical.
So yeah, this drops right in, but retention ain't a thing.
Yeah. So if
But
you want a smaller
again-
gun, that's where the harder holsters might be rather best.
Honestly, I think the harder holsters are better in general, but this is one advantage because then, let's say you take this Elite Force 1911, and with the light and the suppressor, doesn't exactly work in the FNX hard holster.
Yeah.
So as you can see, while they might both work in a soft holster, one of the more universal type soft holsters, they do not work so well in the hard holsters because those are generally molded for the gun. So soft holsters, their main advantage, in my opinion, is just the ability to be cheap and a cheap way to get a holster for really any handgun. They're not the best at anything, and there are some good ones out there that are okay, but in general, I do not like them.
Nor do I.
Yeah, because they can actuate your controls when you don't want them to. They're harder to draw from because the retention is often weird and finicky and often not there. With this FNX, for example, because the holster wasn't made for it, the suppressor sights will often catch on this nylon holster, and that is not a good thing, so keep that in mind. And then we move on to hard types.
Now, there's also various types or brands of hard types that
Yes.
you're actually going to see in this. So, Eric, you want to... Well, since you had it in your hand,
Yeah.
what is that?
Well, this one is a Blade Tech holster for the FNX. Now, Blade Tech holsters are not... I'm not going to come out and say they're the best holsters on the market. They're serviceable in general for airsoft use. And this one just so happens to be one that I like pretty well because it holds this FNX, no BS, no drama, just holds it, comes in, comes out relatively easily, but it's only molded for one gun. Now it only runs about $35, so it's not an expensive holster by any means, but at the same time, that's $35 for every gun. Now, to me, I view it as buying the same thing as buying extra magazines. It's kind of an unavoidable expense of buying a new airsoft pistol, but it is an expense. A lot of guys don't like that.
And when it comes to this, you actually should take care and make sure you get a proper holster for your sidearm because they will break.
Or you'll lose them.
Or you'll lose them, but they will break. I know from personal experience. They will break.
And let's get to that once we talk about this really super common type of holster you see for airsoft.
Which I have one, by the way, for
well, you
my
have one
particular...
now, after we talk about this, this next
Yeah.
one. This is the Blackhawk Serpa. If you haven't seen a Blackhawk Serpa before, I want to find your rock because that's the safest place in case of nuclear apocalypse. But the Blackhawk Serpa, drop in, drop out. It's a hard retention holster. There is actually a mechanism that holds the gun in place. So I could shake this all day in a provocative, suggestive motion, and
He's
it will
stroking
never
his
come
gun.
out.
If you didn't get
But-
the choke, he's stroking his gun.
Yes. But you just grab it, put your finger on that little button doohickey, comes right out.
Button.
Now there are a couple of disadvantages to these Blackhawk Serpas in particular, and that is two things. One, it is a retention mechanism, so that means it can fail, and it means you can fail to use it. So let's say I have this on my hip, and I go to draw it, and I go and I think I've got a good push on the button, but I really don't quite. Then I'm stuck there fumbling with this handgun. And the harder you try to pull it out while pushing the button, the harder that button becomes to push. So you have to really get a high tang grip, push down, push the button, then bring it up. And it's just an extra step to remember, but the hard retention is often worth it for a lot of guys. Then you can also get other level 2 holsters that have a retention hood that goes over the top of the gun. Those are also very popular for a lot of guys who like having a level 2 retention but don't love the Serpa. Then I know the Serpa has a level 3, which has a thumb drive retention and the button push and a friction retention. Whereas this Blade Tech holster is only a friction retention, which again has very good retention as you can see, but you don't have any mechanism to worry about, and that's what I like. I like having no mechanism to worry about. I like having just a straight draw and good enough retention that it's not going to mess me up.
Yeah. But my draw, it's part of my process to make sure that button's actually
No,
down all the
and
way.
you can get it down with practice. I'm just lazy,
Yeah.
and I don't like to. I like to make things idiot-proof. That's why my first real firearm was an AK.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Nightmare holster.
All right, so every hard holster you see, just because it's a hard holster doesn't mean necessarily it's a good hard holster.
Yes.
So, this
and these
is,
aren't even great hard holsters. You can get ones from T-Rex Arms Kydex,
Yep.
Raven Concealment, Lion Defense, Chaos Concealment, all kinds of custom shops that make awesome Kydex holsters for any gun with any light on them or any laser, and those are all great. They're a little pricey, but they're worth it because honestly, they're going to offer a greater level of light compatibility, because it's hard to find light compatible holsters unless you go custom, especially for a weird gun like the FNX. Now, if you have a Glock, screw you, because you get all the holsters apparently.
Because everyone likes Glock.
Yeah.
So the type of handgun that I run is the WE XD Compact. Okay. So when I first got my first one of these, if you've ever watched mine, you know this is the second one of mine because of this piece of shit. Sorry, I don't have bitter feelings down, do I? Okay. So if you know anything about the WE XDM, it comes with short mag and the full-size XD mag with the spacer. Okay. So when I first got my first one, I went out to Gander Mountain, local Gander Mountain. I was looking for a holster that was a hard holster, relatively on the cheap side because I was on a budget at the time, and I came across this thing, which is the Uncle Mike's holster.
I don't know exactly what it's called, but
that's the brand name of what it
yeah.
was. But basically how this works...
But Uncle Mike's holsters in general, I'm not a fan.
Basically how this works, you put the gun in, which has good retention, right? Cool. The actual retention system is similar to a Serpa. There's actually like a locking mechanism within the trigger guard. But in order to deactivate this mechanism, you have to take the gun, twist it, and pull up.
Yep.
Okay.
But other than that, there's not a whole lot of friction retention.
If you've ever used one of these guns, and you put the small mag in, there's not a whole lot of weight, and this tends to run fine. But, if you notice, this is meant for a belt, so when I run this on my belt, and let's say I'm running around, that gun tends to move, right? Yes? Yes? Okay. If I have to change out and I use this full mag, it adds a little more back weight to the back part of the handguard of this pistol. I've actually had it in a game where this gun somehow magically, while me sprinting my butt off full speed, twisted itself and came out of the holster because of the weight. And that's how my first one actually broke. First pistol actually broke because it came out so many times, and after a while it wouldn't shoot. I didn't know what it was, so I was like, hey, granted this is a $100 gun, so I'm like, I'll just buy a new one. But then I also went out and bought a Serpa for I think it's the XD Compact, Subcompact.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for a cost-effective holster solution for most players, the Serpa's not a bad option.
And this costs me, I think, about $35, $30.
Yeah, and you can find Serpas for $30 to $40.
Yeah, about the same price. So if you're toggling between that for convenience or a Serpa, go with the Serpa.
Serpas are often very convenient as well, because they didn't have the XD Serpa at Gander that day I was with you when you bought that. But they do have the other types of Serpas for a lot of other guns at Gander Mountain, local gun stores. Even Dick's, I think, sells Serpas.
Yeah.
So I think Serpas are a good, easy-to-find option for a lot of guys. They're relatively cheap. I mean, for the price of an extra magazine, you have a holster, basically.
Yep.
And the other thing that's good about Serpas is they have a lot of compatibility with various mounting platforms, because they have I think they call it the strike system.
Yeah.
And what that means is you can get a platform that will mount it to molly webbing. You can get a platform that will mount it to most any belt. You can get platforms that are just paddles that you can slide in and out of most belts.
I mean, it comes with those. That was the thing. Because, I mean, like, if you know,
or it just comes with the standard, and it just comes with the standard belt loops.
Which a lot of them do, but, like, the whole strike system is actually, because Uncle Mike's actually has this, or has this.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of the hard holsters have this.
A lot of the hard holsters have
basically
some
off screws.
version that's compatible, or with the blade techs, I would know from experience, they're not technically compatible, but if you, 2 of the screws line up, so if you just run 2 out of the 3 screws, that works. Or if you're like me and you run a battle belt, that the 511 Brocos belt, that allows you to have your inner belt running over, and that lets you do it that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically all I got to say about those different types of holsters. And again, if you want to pony up the cash and get a better holster, things like the T-Rex arms and all those other guys we mentioned, custom Kydex holsters are going to generally be better. And a lot of guys can make their own custom Kydex holsters. A lot of guides on the internet. Kydex is not that expensive of a material. Most of what you're paying for is honestly labor, design, and marketing. So if you can figure out how to make your own custom Kydex holster, I'd say that's the ultimate down low on the cheap solution. Other than that, Blade Tech and Serpas are both very good options for beginners. I tend to lean toward the Blade Tech because they don't have any kind of retention that you need to monkey with, and I like that. Nylon holsters will hold everything, they're cheap, but they're cheap to a fault. They're built cheap. They don't have good retention, and they're just not ideal.
And then just keep in mind that just because it's a hard holster, it may not be
A good hard holster.
A good hard holster. So
The internet is full of reviews for all kinds of holsters, and we have definitely missed the dozens of varieties that are out there for all kinds of holsters. Gun forums, YouTube gun channels, Airsoft forums are all filled with suggestions for holsters. I know Safariland is really popular. I've never used one, so I can't comment.
Yeah.
So, take our word for what it's worth. This is kind of a starting guide.
As we've always said throughout this entire series, these things, the ones that we say that we prefer, they work for us. That's why we prefer
Although
them.
I am planning on getting a T-Rex Arms Kydex holster for the FNX because I want to have it be compatible with an Optic and a Streamlight TLR1.
You gear whore!
Yeah, deal with it.
I do. Smells sim. Fucking Gucci.
Milsim, bro.
Fucking Gucci. You haven't gotten Cry, though, so we haven't gotten that far yet.
I don't get Cry because I don't feel like spending the money on it. I could spend that money on other stupid things, like ridiculously overpriced knives.
You do spend this money on overpriced knives.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like we're out of things to say, so I'm E-House.
And I'm Redbeard.
Enjoy.